I'm Jaden, and this is my Lab A Python demo. First, we define init as a function containing a self, then an ID listing as a string, has gym as a bool, and then price as a float. And then basically, we set if something is self.price, it'll appear as listing ID, self.gym, it'll be hasGym, and self.price, it'll just be its price. And then we have all these functions that we defined earlier that allow us to find out individual pieces of information that we want. And then for this discount price, it'll be the listing, and then the discount thing, and it'll take the price of the discount, the price of the thing, and multiply it 1 minus the discount, divided by 100, so you should get a decimal, and then it'll reduce it by the percentage that you want. And then basically, is better deal, it will check to see if which ones have a gym, and if one thing has a gym and another one doesn't, and it will pick that one as the preferred one. But if either both have a gym or both don't have a gym, it'll take the lowest price as the preferred one. And then this is just the string of how it wants every listing to be formatted when you print it out. And then this is just to test one set of input. This second rental takes everything, imports the class from the first one, and builds upon it. In this rental catalog class, that's basically just a whole bunch of catalogs or listings that is from before. First, you take init, and it adds a list of rental units that will be the self, basically, in all the rentals to create kind of like a 2D list. Next, it will, for each line of the file, it will strip it it will split it based upon the comma, and then for each individual value, it will convert it into the value we wanted earlier, so a float for the price, a bool for the hasGym, or a listing, or just as a string for the name for the listing ID, and then it will append it into this self rental units. And then the count listing just checks the length of this. The average price just is basically, if the length is 0, it'll return the average price is 0. Otherwise, there could be issues when dividing by 0. But other than that, it will it takes, for each of the listings in the rental units, it'll take the price and add it to a total. The total starts at 0 and goes up from there. The average is the total divided by the length, and then it will round the average to 2. The reducing prices will take the average, and then for every list, every listing above the average, it will reduce it by 5%. And then the print summary is just how you want to print out when you're trying to show off the listings. This third function is a combination of the two previous classes. The only new function it introduces is the find listing, which basically takes a list ID and strips it, and then for every listing in the catalog rental units, it will find where the listing ID is equal to the listing ID given, and then if it finds one, it will return listing, otherwise it will return none. So now this big main function, it sets the rental catalog to catalog just for easier use later, and then it displays a menu, and then asks the user to input a number. If the number doesn't fall within one of these 5, it will ask it to go again. Otherwise, it will print out a catalog summary if the choice is 1, which is just the thing we saw in the second one. Otherwise, it will ask you to input a file name, which will then put a file in, which you can then use to get rental listings from. Choice 3 compares to, so it asks user to put in 2 listing IDs, and then it will compare them based on parameters we've previously set, or it will compare them base, or if one of them isn't found, it will tell the user. And choice 4 will apply a discount, but this can only be applied once. As earlier, it's because discount applied is equal to false up here, but once a discount has been applied, it'll equal to true, so you can never get this discount again. Then once the user hits 5, it will end the function, and it'll be over. So basically, my thought process for this was because I had the self and the listing ID already. I just had to strip the listing ID to make sure that was given to me in a string, as it said earlier. I just had to strip it to make sure I didn't there wasn't any special characters that can make it different. And now, if the listing ID for the .get ID from like the original function is equal to this thing that's inputted in as an argument in the user-defined function, it will return as it will return the listing. Otherwise, it won't return anything.